Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I got another live chat going, and it's another YouTuber. I always like to get YouTubers on the channel because I think we have a great community going where a lot of work together, and especially some of the smaller ones like to help out, or the bigger ones like to help with the smaller ones. So it's really cool having someone like this on my channel. So I'm just going to let you know a little bit about Smash JT if you're not too familiar with him. He started his channel, at least from what I got from his channel anyways, was in 2017, January, which is pretty impressive because he's got over 5,000 subs right now, which is quite impressive.
Thanks,
I started my channel in 2016, and I'm about 700 subs. So he's really doing something right. He knows what he's doing. So he's a former game tester for Sony Online, which is awesome. Is it Sony Online Entertainment? Is that what it's called?
Yep. So yep.
A former game master. Yep. Former game master for the EverQuest series. Recruiter for the entire video game industry on the West Coast in the United States. And he's worked directly with Rockstar, Midway, Nexon, NHA, Sony Online, Electronic Arts, and more. So that's quite impressive. He's I would say he's quite up there in the video game industry, and he's got a passion for it. So welcome, Smash JT, to Brian's Man Cave.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, seriously. And thank you for the kind words, dude.
That's cool. I try to get as much as I can off the site and stuff, just to give a little bit of background, because I know not everybody knows everybody, so it's always good to have that kind of introduction, just so people who watch my channel can watch your channel and know what you're all about.
Absolutely.
So the way I like to do this is, if you've watched my live chats in the past, I like to throw some questions out there, retro gaming related, and all that stuff. And I'm watching the chat as well, so people can feel free to throw some questions in the chat, and hopefully we can get up to that, while we're chatting.
Absolutely.
And so I always like to start the first one off, especially with gamers like Smash JT, who started YouTube channels, is what inspired you to actually start your channel?
Honestly, for me personally, it was a combination of God, where do I even start? This is a loaded question. I had my second kid, she's now 3. I was not renewed my contract. I was a temp at Qualcomm as a technical writer, and the contract ran up and they were doing cutbacks. So lost my job there, and I was playing video games at home, and I'm like, I got to find a job, but I don't want to have to pay for a babysitter in Southern California because it costs so much freaking money for a babysitter. And I'm like, maybe I can start making some videos, and at least I wasn't at first thinking I could make money off of it. I at first was thinking something to pass the time while I was looking for employment, something to maybe give my life some purpose. Because if you or anyone in the chat's ever been out of work for a prolonged period of time, you get the feeling of kind of self-doubt, depression, sadness, uselessness. And I was going through all of that, dude. I was going through every documented feeling of depression you could have while I was basically raising my 2 kids. And my wife, she's a registered nurse, so she's got a full-time job and she's very secure in her position. So it was kind of like one of those, I'm the man of the house and I can't even pull my own weight type thing. And
you gotta get the money going. You gotta bring home the bacon. Yeah, been there.
Exactly. But like I said, I didn't start the channel to make money. I started the channel as like a side project hobby to make myself feel useful, give myself purpose, wake up in the morning and have a reason to live. Like I was going through these moments of not suicidal thoughts or anything that crazy, but it was a dark place where I felt like I wasn't really contributing to society, and it felt very depressing.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting because I mean, I situation. I started my channel in 2016, and not long after I started my channel, I think just around that time is when I became unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working full time. I have a wife and a child as well, so
So
it
you
was
know the
kind of in
feeling.
the same situation. Yeah, and I mean, sure, I didn't start the channel thinking I was going to make money, and it was never my intention, right? Because I've watched a lot of other YouTubers. I've watched many of them talk about how there's no money in this, like it's not a money thing. You don't do this for money, and so I knew that it wasn't. But what the channel did give me was something to look forward to, something to keep my mind off the fact that I was unemployed, and you know, with the monotonous nature of looking for a job and trying not to feel useless. And I think I put like the most amount of effort into building up my channel during that time when I was unemployed, because you had the time to do it. You have the time to sit there. Now that I've obviously I'm working now, and I'm finding it that's where it's challenging. It's like, you know, you're doing the 8-hour shift, you come home, you got to get dinner prepared, you have a family, you got this, then you got to come up with video ideas, you got to record them, you got to edit them. And then I'm like, holy crap. Like I think about the time when I was unemployed, like, wow, I just had so much time. Like I was doing like 3, sometimes 4 videos a week. And I was, you know, always on to be able to do that. And at the time I still wasn't thinking I'd ever make money off of it. So
yeah, and that's the thing I tell people all the time. If you go into YouTube thinking that you can make money off of it, you are in for a very, very big surprise.
Yeah,
it's gonna make you even
at that
more
time
depressed.
too. At that time too, you were able to monetize. With no real restrictions. They brought that in a little bit later on, where they said you have to have 1,000 subscribers, you have to have 4,000 watch minutes or something like that.
But
and I thought it was quite funny, like that they did that, because I don't even think I made $27 in the entire time I did YouTube.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, even when you were allowed to monetize, I almost think that was more depressing because you saw how little you made. And it's just like, there's no way you can make YouTube a full-time job. It's not possible. Like, strictly YouTube, you have to get external funds from something, whether you sell merchandise or you make appearances at cons or you start a Patreon and your Patreon's super successful. Like, getting ad revenue, even PewDiePie says you don't make money off of ad revenue in YouTube. Basically, you use YouTube to advertise your brand and then make money with your brand somewhere else, because you're not going to make any money with YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. When I started, when I set up my channel, I mean, I did the same thing that probably a lot of people do. They start doing the research. You start looking into what you need to do to start a channel, all that other stuff. I started watching other YouTubers with their advice and all this stuff. And so when I set up my channel, one of the first things I set up after I set up the channel was the Patreon. And I thought, you know, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this? Nobody's going to give me money. You know, it was just in my brain, like, why would anybody? I don't even know what I'm doing. But I set it up anyways, because I'm like, you know, down the road one day, you know, if I figure this stuff out and I'm actually pretty good at it, someone might actually want to be a Patreon. So might as well set it up and get it out of the way. But then when YouTube decided to, like, say, okay, we're closing our doors to all you smaller guys, I was kind of glad that I had Patreon set up. I didn't have to, you know, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm probably making more money off of Patreon than I ever would make off of YouTube right now. I mean, that's just the reality. Even though it's still a small amount, but I mean, it's still comforting to know that you do get somewhere. And actually, before we started, I was looking at your channel and I was watching your Patreon video there, and you were talking about that, and I was surprised at some of the feedback. I mean, it was quite impressive. Like, some people are like, you know, let the hate begin, and some people were just hating on it, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, why are people hating on it so much? Like,
that's after I did a lot of house cleaning. There were some really
nasty comments.
Oh yeah, nasty comments is the nicest way to put it. I was, in all honesty, I mean, like I said even in the Patreon video, I didn't want to do a Patreon video, but if I'm going to make this YouTube thing work, I need to have that as at least a part of what I'm doing. It's clearly not going to bring in as much money as anyone would like it to, but it's at least another source of something. but good Lord, the backlash from some people that, ironically, some of the backlash, the biggest haters and the most awful comments were from people that I knew, that I've interacted with, that I thought I was on a good level with, completely hit me out of left field. Like, I'm like, whoa, like I thought we were cool, man, and now you're attacking me in a video where I'm like, do not feel obligated. This is something that if you want to contribute to this, feel free. I'd be ever grateful for it. And if not, great. I hope you keep enjoying my videos. Like, I'm not going to withhold content. I'm not locking stuff behind any gates or anything. Like, it's literally nothing is changing. And I didn't expect any malicious comments. I expected some hate, some negative feedback, some rudeness, but it was almost, at the beginning, it was overwhelming. I was like, holy crap, there's like 6 or 7 or 8 people in here that are just railing on me. I'm like, where did these people even come from? What the hell?
But did you find that the people that were complaining, were they like also YouTubers, or were they just people who just watched you because they liked your content?
They're also YouTubers. I talked to my wife a little bit about this. I talked to my brother. I talked to one of my YouTube buddies about it. I was kind of going through withdrawals after posting that video where I'm just like, did I say something wrong? Did I misstep? Was this a mistake? And the day I posted that Patreon video, I think I lost like 3 subscribers. And I was like, okay, that really kind of, what's that?
Yeah, no, I mean, just you lost.
Yeah. And I was like confused. I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. I guess if I think about it, that makes sense to lose the subscribers, because people there, no matter what happens, they're just going to hate on people that use Patreon, and that nothing will ever change that, no matter what. And that, I guess, is understandable. But
it's kind of that. It's kind of that mentality that you're doing this, you should be doing it with your own money, and you should be doing it for free, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of the nature of YouTube, right? People are like, YouTube's a free platform, they shouldn't have to pay for it. But they're not. I mean, that's what you're trying to get at. You're not trying to say you have to pay for my content. What you're saying is, I'm putting out content, it's costing me money to put out this content, it's costing me time. Yep. And if you really like my content, you can support me.
Well, for me personally, like, this isn't even a joke. Like, I had a talk with my wife, and she's like, look, you have to go get a job because we are not making ends meet. And I'm like,
real job.
I'm like, babe, I got this. I'm going to do a Patreon, and that way I'll be able to make enough money to help make ends meet at the house, and we'll be all good.
And kind of justify what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's making
exactly, yeah, to justify what I was doing. And I was not prepared for the reaction. And I know it's the vocal minority, but to say I wasn't shocked initially at the backlash would be a lie. I was completely taken back by it. I was questioning my decision to even open a Patreon. But thankfully, after the first few hours dissipated, and I deleted comments in a video, and I think that's the first time I've ever done that. Like, I'm just like, I usually let people have their opinions. My channel is all about opinions. I love people that hate on my opinion. I want people to take me to task and keep me honest. I love that about my channel. That's why I take such divisive issues and talk about them and say, this is where I stand on something, and tell me why you agree with it. Or more importantly, tell me why you disagree with it. And let's have a conversation. Let's figure this out. Let's come to some sort of conclusion onto why this is the way it is or the way it should be. And maybe I've had situations where commenters have changed my mind or changed my perception of something just from a well thought out comment. So I don't mind that whatsoever. But if you're going to outright attack me and just come at me for a reason that is just foolish, I like to give people credit no matter how ridiculous they sound. But if it's affecting the tone of my video, when it's supposed to be something positive and they're coming in and just destroying it, I had to draw the line on that video somewhere. And that really, I love PK's comment.
Exactly. And
PK's
this
comment
is a good,
there.
this is a good segue into what I was going to ask also about the one video you did about the too many YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
John Hancock, I mean, great guy. I had a chat with him. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I know some people don't like him. They don't trust him. They think he's wine up, do it.
Oh, always.
Cheers.
Cheers.
But yeah, I mean, John Hancock's a great guy, and he did this one video with the are there too many YouTubers? And I believe what he said was completely taken out of context, and it shocked a huge amount of people and created a lot of hate. I mean, he's got a huge subscriber. He's 60,000 subscribers. Really huge, and so I'm sure the hate that he must have hit on that video, kind of like what you were saying, like he probably wasn't used to that. Like, I'm sure he had to delete stuff. And then you made a follow-up. I made a follow-up. A bunch of us all made a follow-up. But we were all kind of understanding on that one. But, I mean, it was kind of interesting to see that happen. And I think it doesn't matter how big you are on YouTube. One video can just spiral you out of control, right?
It can. I have nothing but mad respect for John Hancock. And to the point of when I watched his initial video that started the whole thing, I actually called a really close YouTube buddy of mine that I talked to about everything that basically could swing a channel in a direction. And I said, I really don't want to make a video on this, but everything in my body is telling me I have to make a video on this. And it killed me because I'm like, I don't want to come at him. I don't want to sound negative about him because I like I said, I got nothing but mad respect for him. I think he's a genuinely really good human being. I think anyone who's had an interaction with him knows that. So tactfully, gracefully dissecting his video in a way that maybe properly gets his point across better, I felt like was the best option and the best route to go with that. And ultimately, I'm happy with how the video that I made turned out about it. And it even got it before I even talked to John. He commented on the video saying thank you for getting my point across better than I did. I
remember reading that too.
Yeah, and that was
he was pretty
quick unprovoked. I didn't even talk to him or anything.
Yeah, he was pretty quick to be commenting. I think you even did a follow-up video with him, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, we did an interview on his channel, and it was his idea. He contacted me on Facebook and said that he appreciated my video and really wanted to retake his initial approach so that people understood what he really meant by it. And he wanted me to interview him on his channel. I was like, oh my God, what an honor. Like, this guy is a freaking legend on YouTube and he wants me to interview him on his channel. Okay, I'll be more than happy to do that. And it was funny because I don't know if you read the comments on that retake of a video, but there was so much negativity in the comments of that retake video where he's basically not apologizing, but basically saying, this is what I was meaning to say and it came out wrong, but it wasn't an apology, it was just a correction. And people in the comments were tearing them apart. They're like, you don't need to appease these people that are calling you out, John. We understood what you meant in your original video. This is ludicrous that you're even doing this video. And I'm just like, you can't make people happy. And it goes back to the Patreon thing. No matter what you do, there will always be. I was thinking about this earlier today. Like someone like, are you familiar with Philip DeFranco?
Not sure.
No? Okay. Philip DeFranco is basically a news source on YouTube for divisive issues that are outside of video games. Sometimes he dabbles in video games too, but he talks about celebrity gossip and stuff and Donald Trump and his take on political issues, things like that. And I feel like even with how perfect he does his videos, he still gets thousands of dislikes no matter how perfect the video is. And I'm like, if Phil DeFranco is being impartial, presenting the information to the viewers, educating them on the situation, and people are still able to watch this and find a way to be negative about it, and then you just can't make people happy. And you got to stop trying. And that's something I learned a long time ago, is to stop making people happy. Do your thing. People are going to agree with you. People are going to disagree with you. But at the end of the day, people are going to enjoy you because of your opinion, your take on things, your passion for it, and your entertainment value for how you're presenting the information. And what separates you from other YouTubers. If you make valid points, even if they might not agree with you, as long as you can back it up, I think that's all that matters. And someone who's really good at that is in the chat right now. That's PK versus the World. He on Twitter, I follow him. He has a lot of really good takes that are sometimes devil's advocate takes. I don't know if he necessarily believes them or if it's just to play devil's advocate, but it definitely makes you think about a circumstance or an issue from a different light, and it really revolutionizes how you feel about something just by hearing the other side. And I love that.
Yeah, and Nerd Out With Me also is saying, just do what you love. Mm-hmm. And I full-heartedly believe in that. I mean, when I started my channel, that was one of the big decisions I had to make, was what kind of a channel do I want to make? Because honestly, beforehand, I didn't know if I never expected I would ever make a YouTube channel. It was never something that I thought I could do. And when I decided, okay, maybe I should, I had to make a decision. How do I want to do this? Do I want to do it, do I want to take, because I was inspired by, the Angry Video Game Nerd and some of the other people.
Everybody.
Yeah, and so
I was too. I mean, you watch some of my earlier videos, and I have some exact replicas of how the Angry Video Game Nerd would. Like, he was one of my major inspirations for getting into it.
Exactly, and then when you look at the way he did things, I mean, it was brilliant. But he was playing a character, and he had to come out of that character and create, Mike and James Play and all that other stuff, and he has to distinguish himself between his character. And I thought, even Top Pat Gaming Man, I watched some of his stuff. I've communicated with him on Twitter and stuff. He seems like a great guy. I mean, but he plays a villain. He plays a character a lot of people hate. And I don't think a lot of people understand that he's playing a character, right? They attack him thinking that he's actually that person. So I thought, I don't think I want to do that. And I don't want to just be a reviewer. I don't want to just be I'm just going to throw up a video game and be like, this is my thought and that's it. So I thought, I got to change it up. I got to do something. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to keep it raw. I'm not going to do too much editing. I do a little bit. I have to. I got some, pretty bad bloopers in some of my things where I started recording and I just start and I'm like, or I'm holding up a game and all of a sudden I drop it and I'm like, I pick it up and I stopped it and I edit that. So I do a little bit of editing, but I try to keep my videos almost like what we're doing now, live. I literally don't prep too much. I put the camera in front of my face. I look at the game or whatever I'm going to be talking about. I think about it in my head, and then I just let it all out. And that's just me, right? That's who I am. And if someone's going to hate that, someone's going to hate that, whatever. I can't help that. And, people will go on my videos just like any other videos, and they'll give their opinion. They'll give me the thumbs down. Whatever. I mean, I got a lot of people, a lot of great people, a lot of the people in the chat. I mean, they like watching what I do. So I'm just going to keep doing what I love doing, and that's what I do, right? But I see a lot of these other YouTubers, and it seems like they have a lot of pressure to get the content out, and they might have sponsors, or they might who knows, they have to always be in the latest news and the latest this and the latest that. And I could see that kind of would be a challenge, wouldn't it? Like to
it would, because I want this career to work out. But an unfortunate side effect of modern day success on YouTube is having a schedule, having sponsors, having a business made out of it. And the problem with what I do is I like being sporadic. I like being spontaneous. I like to surprise the audience with videos. Like I initially started, I was making one video a week, and then I started making 2 videos a week, and now I'm making 5 to 6 videos a week. But in my mind, I still say to myself, I only want to make 1 video a week, but I'm always so inspired. I'm always so passionate about what hits me that I'm like, I need to make a video on this. I need to make a video on this. And that's what I keep going back to. It's like, I don't make any promises to my audience for any videos. I don't say, you guys, I'll have 5 videos out a week. Here's the time it'll be out. The only promise I have right now is the Smash JT show at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Friday mornings. And that's something that I want to hold myself to, so that even if I don't make a video for the week, I will make that video. So I always have something to fall back on. But I keep finding myself making 5 to 6 videos a week, even though I don't necessarily go into every week with that intention. It just keeps happening.
Do you try and look for like the latest news, or like do you?
I do.
Yeah. See,
I do.
That's another thing that I know that like.
But before you go on, before I even did my YouTube channel, I would always load up Google and read the latest news on what's going on with the video game industry, because that was my passion. I always wanted to be on the forefront of what's new, what's going on, and I always shared it on my Facebook page, and before I even made the Smash JT Facebook page, on my personal page, I would be like to my family and friends, hey guys, look at this deal on this game. Get it? Hey, look at this game that's coming out soon. I'm very excited about this.
So you were always the news guy anyway.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And
it was a natural transition.
It's funny. It wasn't in my mind. It wasn't like, hey, I want to do YouTube news, but it just kind of happened that way. And I don't even see myself as a YouTube news guy. I see myself as an entertainer on YouTube. And sometimes that involves news, and sometimes it involves pretending to be Wood Hawker, like in today's video. Like I want to do what I'm inspired to do, and just do it. And if that involves what's going on in the news today, and just me blurting out, hey, here's a rumor about the new Star Fox and F-Zero mashup coming at E3, which didn't happen and I'm pissed off about, I'm still making a video on that because that excited me. That got me interested. That made me want to tell people and share it with the world. And that's why I love having a YouTube channel. That's why I love being a YouTuber, because I get to be me and get to talk about stuff. And it's so empowering. It's so amazing.
Exactly. Like, I know I've watched other YouTubers and like even someone like RGT85, who's, gone to the next step of taking it to his career. I'm finding that, from his previous videos to his current videos, he really needs to step up, and he needs to be the forefront of all news, anything related. But at the same time, I realize that I don't know about you, but he's much more into the modern stuff. So the Nintendo Switch.
Well, I can speak
stuff like that, right?
I can speak a little bit to that for him, because I've had some conversations with him, some private, some public. He's been nothing but amazing to me and my channel. He's been an amazing mentor, and someone I really look up to. He's a really good dude, and everyone knows RGT. Anyone who's spoken to him knows he's an awesome guy. But he's run into an issue that I'm seeing right now with YouTube, that is, people always say, do what you want to do. But if you want to be successful on YouTube, that's not necessarily true unless you're an outlier and you're doing something so unique that no one else is doing, that you just do your thing and it's special. But outside of that, you have to fall into the algorithm, and you have to fall in line, and you have to put out what people want to see, and you have to stop being selfish about it. And you really got to take yourself out of the equation. And I tell people this when I do my channel helps all the time. Like, people are like, how do I grow my channel? How do I make myself more, how do I get my videos seen? And I'm like, well, first off, what's the title on your video? What's the thumbnail? Because something that I always keep in the back of my mind, and this is something for everyone who's aspiring to be a bigger YouTuber or grow, and this is something that I'm always remind myself of, is when I'm on my elliptical working out and I'm watching YouTube videos and I'm scrolling through my subscription feed, holy crap, there's some boring ass stuff on there. And I'm like, come on, step your game up, people. Like, give me something that makes me stop and say, I want to watch this while I'm working out. And that's what I take into my mentality when I'm making my videos. I need to make something that people are scrolling through their sub feeds and stop and say, I need to watch this. And that's why I always go into, I might not have a video for you tomorrow. I don't have a video made tomorrow. I don't have anything even in my head to make, but that could change at 1 a.m. tonight. I don't know. It's sporadic. It's spontaneous. I love it and hate it at the same time, but you have to get something that catches people's attention. I'm not talking about clickbait. People always hear that and they say, oh, you're talking clickbait. And I'm like, no, get someone's attention, grab them, make them want to know what you're talking about.
That's interesting you saying that too, clickbait, because I've been watching a few other channels, not all gaming channels, but some people I know, and this one guy, Perp, he does Magic the Gathering videos, and he does really catchy titles, really catchy, and a lot of people have been accusing him of doing clickbait. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, and he even did a rant on one of his videos saying, it's not clickbait. I stayed on topic from what I said. And he was right. I mean, clickbait isn't just creating catching titles. Clickbait is using stuff in the title that doesn't even relate to the video. So, if you put something in there about, if something happened in the world, about, say, the Kardashians or something, you throw that in your video title, and then you talk nothing about them. That's clickbait.
100%.
But if you actually put, pop words, buzzwords, or something that people will catch their attention, that's just clever title. And that's just keywords, right? That's just the way that drives people in. And
exactly. And what it comes down to, unfortunately, and this is something something my parents taught me growing up, is try not to ever be jealous. It's really, in today's world, especially with the media and online, it's really hard not to compare yourself to other channels that are more successful, doing less work and putting out less quality than you are. But it's something I always have to constantly remind myself of. Don't be jealous. Find out what they're doing that's working and take it.
Yeah, well, there is something to be said. I mean, like, and I can see, I totally see your point, because say I put out a topic, or say something's happening and I put out a video on that, and then somebody else who's got like 1,000+ subscribers does something the same thing, they're going to get thousands of views. I'm going to get 40. It's just the way it works, right?
Well, it goes back to something we were talking about before this went live, and I'm not going to say what it was because it's a very personal issue, but it does hurt when there are larger channels out there doing very similar content to you, and you put it out and you get, I don't know, a couple thousand views. Great, that's a lot. And then you see them put out a very similar video and get over 100,000 views on it in the first couple days, and you're like, that's frustrating. That's very frustrating.
Algorithm, right? The YouTube algorithm. Yeah,
and it's happening. It's happening a lot more personally lately with many different channels that I'm noticing that are picking up on what I'm doing, and maybe it's a natural evolution of channel growth, or maybe it's just coincidence that I don't believe in. But there is a lot of similar content out there that is a little too similar.
Yeah, well, this kind of goes back to what I was saying about always trying to be the news person, right? I mean, with me, I understand, because I'm a retro guy. I'm pure retro. If you watch my videos, you see a lot of my stuff is Atari and Intellivision, ColecoVision, Commodore 64. All this stuff is like 30+ years old. Most people don't even know what it is. And so you're not going to get the newer people fully into this because they don't even know what the hell it is. Whereas like some kid could put out a Fortnite video and get thousands of views, right?
Mhm.
So I understand that. I understand that I'm living in the past. I'm an old fart. I you know, I like my old stuff, but periodically something does come into the news, and like for instance, the Intellivision. I don't know if you've been following that too much because I know you've been talking a lot about the Atari VCS,
Oh, I
but
have.
the Intellivision is also coming back.
Brian, believe it or not, I follow everything.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, like the Tommy Tallarico thing, and I actually got word of that from one of my followers who actually sent me an email, letting me know that this was coming. And I thought, hey, you know, I don't typically jump on the news stories like everybody else, but this I thought I had to because the Intellivision has always been my thing. I grew up with an Intellivision, so I thought, yeah, you know, I got to jump on this one. And so I did. And I jumped on it. And, you know, I put out the video and I got the attention of Tommy Tallarico, the president of Intellivision. And that was different for me because I'm not used to always having like the latest news. And even when I've talked about the Atari VCS, not on the same degree that you've talked about it, but I did do, I think, 2 videos on it.
Mm-hmm.
And even then I felt like there was I don't know what it was, like you feel like you got to get the video out now because everybody else is going to have it out in 5 minutes. If you don't get it out now, you're just old news. And I felt that kind of like anxiety, like I got to get this. Even with the Intellivision thing, like I was actually at work, well, you know, my day job, when I got that email, and I felt crap, like I got to get home, I got to film this video. And I thought, how could people do that? Like, how can you put yourself in that position where you got to be this news before everybody else gets it out there, and you're just like old news? Like, but then at the same time, I thought, well, at the same time, maybe people are going to want my perspective, even though 1,000 other YouTubers already.
Well, one thing I would say, and this is why I made the Smash JT show on Friday, is to keep me grounded and to keep me unique, is to focus on topics that aren't necessarily talked about, things that are divisive subjects that kind of just get grazed over, that people are also focused on: the Atari VCS, the Intellivision, the cracks on the Nintendo Switch, these major stories, and then these little things that are going in between the gaps, things that I'm probably going to be covering, like are the Olympics going to add video games to them? There was a firing of 2 employees that worked on what was it, Dota or something? I can't remember. I saw the story that I'm going to be covering it when I do the research on it. I haven't done the research yet. That they fired 2 employees because they responded on Twitter talking about gender issues, and the developer was a female, and the commenter was calling her out because she was a female and she stood up for herself. And the company took the side of the commenter and fired her for her Twitter comments. I'm like, this is a serious issue that nobody's talking about, like big problems. And there are thousands of them out there. I think the biggest issue is having your voice heard when you're a small channel, because the problem is these big channels, Review Tech USA, even the smaller ones like Woodhawker, or even smaller than that, RGT and Dreamcast Guy, they choose topics to talk about and focus on, and it seems like those are the bubbles in the community, and they aren't necessarily the most important issue. They're just what they decided to be the most important thing to talk about. And that's why I feel like it's important to discuss the other issues and share them with people and tell them why it's important to focus on these other issues that aren't necessarily being covered by these gigantic channels, because it's a way for you to get your name out there, in addition to give some attention to things that are important.
Yeah, well, I've like, even myself, certain things I decided that I want to try and not talk about because of the fact that I know that they're, like, for instance, the whole issue with that NES Classic, that, you know, when they first came out, I did a video on that, and that was just to talk about my thought on whether I would then the whole, you know, 5 per store, selling out, craziness, $1,000 in to buy one. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make a video on that. And then everywhere over the place. And I thought, okay, well, I think I'm going to stop now because it's oversaturated. And then when the news came just recently that they re-released them in stores, I'm like, no, I'm avoiding that subject now. There's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said 1,000 times over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, sometimes I just feel like there's no point. Like, what am I? I'm just regurgitating it.
Well,
and
I mean,
people are going to start accusing
let me stop you there, because I think that's where I disagree with you. And I think you make a good point, and I'm glad you said that. But you can always say something that someone else hasn't said about a situation, and that is your take on it. And I feel like everybody's take is unique, no matter what. And people care about that. Don't ever not make a video because you feel like it's already been covered by someone. That goes back to what we talked about with John Hancock and being too many YouTubers. I think ultimately the problem with YouTube is there are too many YouTubers that think they're going to be successful. And I'm one of them. And I always try to keep myself grounded and say, you know what, you're not going to be successful. There's a lot of freaking work you have to put into this. There's a lot of luck that goes into it. There's a lot of, hopefully someone notices you that's already big, because that's how YouTube works. But throughout all of it, grinding and always staying true to myself and making sure that I'm putting out the content that if it's not necessarily something that I want to talk about, at least it's something that I want to give my opinion on. And I always have an opinion on something.
Well, even the Atari VCS, I mean, I stopped talking about that a while ago. I think the last video I mentioned anything about the Atari VCS was when they first released the image of the joystick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it because I thought it looked cool. It looked like, bringing back the old style. And I thought, I'm just going to do a video focusing on that. And so I did that. And that got a fair number of views. And after kind of stopped. But I was always watching all the other, RGT85 was doing quite a few of them. And like a bunch of people were. I think you've done probably a bunch. And I just kind of stopped because I'm like, at this point, most of it is speculation. I mean, there's not a lot of information out, a lot of like true information out there. So I was dragging it on and on and on. And I just felt that I just don't have anything to go by. So I just stopped.
Well,
and
here's the thing. It's a combination of what you have a passion for and what you have an opinion on. And if you don't have a passion to talk about it, then don't do it. Like, I don't care about the Atari VCS. I literally do not care. And cut this and paste it anywhere you want. I think it's a fraud. I think it's a complete scam. I think the people running it are a complete joke. I think they're taking people's money, and that's why I care about it, because I care about people. I care about gamers. I care about everyone in the chat right now. Like, I care about you, and that's why it blows my mind when I get hate comments on videos where I'm like standing up for the viewers, because I'm like, literally, I am the space between these corporate shills trying to screw people over and people getting screwed over, and you're hating on me. I'm like, I literally am just giving an opinion on why this is a complete BS situation. Why is it crowdfunded? Why have they not followed through on any of their crowdfunding options previously? They've had 5 different things they've done, from the Atari Band to the mini console to the what's the other thing? The Atari Band, the mini console. They had other things too. I can't think of them off the top of my head because it's so out of my mind right now because I just don't care about it. But the Atari VCS, the Atari situation is crazy. Maybe there will be a console. Maybe it will come out. Maybe it will have some games on it. Maybe the controller will work. Is this going to be worth $300? No, absolutely no. Like, there is no way on this earth that Atari would put out a console valued at the price they're asking. the way the situation is coming together right now. Like
sure.
if you look at the facts, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like people can look at a situation and have two completely different opinions on it. Like I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head that's a divisive issue where it's like, how could there even be a contrarian view on that? But there's always a contrarian view. Like you just have to dig, and that's what the Atari VCS is. The contrarian view is the people that are optimistic about it, not necessarily the backers. I might add, the backers are very concerned about it for the most part.
Well, I think what concerned me was that from what I've seen, what they were trying to put out, and what a lot of people were saying was that this is nothing more than that hasn't already been out, right? I mean, it's just another. Well, people are calling it like a Steam box or vaporware or whatever. The Ouya came out, and there's a lot of these things.
It goes back to what I was saying about in my last Smash JT Show episode when Google was saying they're making possibly making a new console. How many consoles do we need? Like, I cannot fit any more consoles in my house. Like, you really gotta blow me away because like
you gotta get creative now, eh?
You really gotta get creative because honestly, if I was single and rich, I would have that game room that had everything set up, all organized with the different colored lights.
Game basement, man. Game basement. You wouldn't even have a room. You'd have a whole basement.
I'm in San Diego. We don't have basements out here. But I wish. When I grew up in Massachusetts, we had a basement, and I had a game basement when I was growing up, which kind of hooked me on the drug of video games back then. But regardless, if my life circumstances were different, if I had a way to display every single console that I currently own, people would look at me and be like, well, here's a divisive issue for you. Oh my God, that's an amazing collection. Oh my God, he's a hoarder. Like I have literally, I think I have more video game consoles than Metal Jesus. Like I'm not even joking. And every time I hear about a new console coming out, I'm always like, a part of me, that devil on my shoulder is like, you want that. You got to add that to your collection. And then the angel on my shoulder is like, come on, man. You really want to spend money on that? You can't even make your ends meet with your bills right now at your house with the electric, and you want to buy a new console? And I don't
gravitate more towards the newer stuff, or do you have the old? Like I don't know what you started off in. Like what was your when you were younger? What did you start off playing? Was it Nintendo or was it prior?
Prior to that, I actually started on the Tandy. I don't know if you're familiar with Tandy computers.
I remember them.
They basically had what looked like an 8-track player on the side of the keyboard that you plug the 8-track.
I remember that. I had a friend who had one of those.
And I played the hell out of, I believe the game was called Panic Button. And it was like where you make cakes in a factory. And I got hooked on video games from that. And I played my share of Atari. I played plenty of NES. It really came in at Super Nintendo. And then my mind was blown with the initial PlayStation and Nintendo 64. But as far as where I got started, it was with the Tandy computer. But this reminds me of something we were talking about earlier that I meant to touch on when you're talking about how RGT is focused on the news right now and current topics, and how YouTube is kind of focused. God, I could talk for 6 hours with you. How YouTube is focused on trending topics, and I think that's part of the problem. And I'm seeing it myself. Like, I don't know how close attention you pay to my videos, but I made a video talking about RPGs and grinding and how grinding is dead. And that video,
I saw that. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I saw it pop up in the feed.
That video crashed and burned. And you know why it did?
No idea.
Because you saw it in the feed and didn't watch it.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Honestly, what I mean by that is it's unfortunately it's the truth. It's the reality of what YouTube is you need to make something that makes people want to watch it. And old stuff doesn't sell. Old stuff doesn't get clicks. People, even if you're into retro, even if you're into topics about retro, the human mind, for whatever reason, banks it and says, that's retro, I can watch that later.
It's interesting you said that too, because I've been going over a lot of my videos and looking at the views on them. Mm-hmm. And some of the ones that I thought would actually get more views turned out to be, a complete disaster. Only ended up with like less than 30. Mm-hmm. And, but what you're saying there, it kind of makes sense. And then at the same time, I've noticed that some of my videos, like the one video I did on Donkey Kong Jr., for instance, where I was comparing Donkey Kong Jr., the Coleco, the Nintendo, and the Atari, got like a ton of views. But then I've done, like, I don't just stick to video games on my channel. I talk about toys and movies and all. I want to be able to not just pigeonhole myself into video games. And some of my I started doing a series at the beginning called Flick Picks, where I chose a movie that talk about it. And some of those ones where I had some good 20 views. And it's like an old movie from the 80s. And in others, it's like 300 views. Weird the way it works. Like you kind of think, who's going to watch this? Like, it's old news. That's why I was kind of getting into the thing with RGT. I know he has to do stuff like that. He just has to. There's not a lot to say about retro. It's old.
From what I've gathered with my very archaic and basic research on how the YouTube algorithm works, this is complete theory and complete guesses at this point, so take it for what it's worth. But I have a firm belief that there is a part of the YouTube algorithm that they don't show you that places your channel in a genre. And basically, if you stray from that genre, it will die. Like, it doesn't matter how good the video is. It doesn't matter how amazing, how many walls it breaks down, how much money was put into it, how much time was put into it. Doesn't matter. If the YouTube algorithm has put you into a specific category, you need to stick to that category. And if you stray from it, it will fall by the wayside. While another channel that is in that category will make the same exact video with the same exact points, and it will get hundreds of thousands of views. And that is kind of the problem that I have with the YouTube algorithm, where it kind of put handcuffs on channels, where it doesn't let you have the freedom to roam. It makes you do things that you don't necessarily want to keep doing, but if you want to be successful, you need to keep doing these things. And I see Woodhawker doing it. I see RGT85 doing it. I see Dreamcast Guy doing it. I see Review Tech USA doing it. All these people know it. They get it. They know where their place is. And if they stray from it, has nothing to do with their subscribers, has nothing to do with the topic, has everything to do with being categorized. And that is my firm belief. And that's something that YouTube would never admit and nobody ever talks about. And I feel like that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even for a smaller, like for me, I've been watching how, I got one video goes like, I get 100 views, another video I get 50. And it's just like, it's weird the way it works. Like you think like this video is on topic from what I always talk about, but it got small amount. And then I'll scroll down and I'll see like, oh, this one's like almost at 1,000 views. And it's like, well, why is this one more? And, after a while, I just thought I gave up. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to keep putting them out there because I'm not doing it for the views anyways, but it's interesting. Like it's something you could easily get caught. You just kind of, it's like a drug. Like you just get caught up in staring at your views, staring at your subscribers, worrying about watch time and view time. And you just get wrapped up into that. Like that's important or something. And it's not. Like what's important is people actually like your stuff. I mean, it'd be like focusing on the negative.
I would argue that actually that's not even important.
It's like focusing on the people that just throw the negative, the haters. Like one of the guys I like to watch, the Atari Creep.
Mhm.
I remember a couple of his videos, and in his video, he was kind of pointing out how some of the, the odd person was being a jerk and leaving terrible comments, and always, every video he made, this guy jumped on and made a horrible comment, and always thumbed down his video, and it's like that can happen, right? You got to understand that when you get into a world like this, there's going to be people that hate you no matter what you do, right?
Well,
I mean,
it's
so
not,
far,
it's not even a world like this. It's the world we live in. Like, look at.
yeah,
I'm trying to think of another situation. Anytime someone sees success,
they get jealous.
They get jealousy. There's this just large group of people that will just appear that will be the vocal minority. Here's the thing. Full disclosure, I'm a big Patriots fan. Tom Brady with the deflated footballs, and how the whole world turned on Tom Brady, and I'm like, this guy is one of the very best players in the history of football, and people are looking for any little thing to take him down. And it came true that at the end of the day, that's exactly what was happening. And since that got realized, it's just got kind of shoved under the rug and no one talks about it anymore. But in the heat of the moment, people were just looking for anything, grasping at straws to say, this is why he's human. This is why he's just like me. He's no better than me. People just want to be on the level, and that's the problem. It's not just YouTube. It's life.
Yeah, it's fame, right? We build you up, we can bring you down. We have fun building you up, making you famous. Now we're gonna crush you, and we're gonna destroy you. Yep. And like every single tabloid paper out there, all those gossip magazines, it's always about bringing the stars down that they built up in the first place. So obviously that's going to translate into YouTube, where but it just seems even more pathetic, though. I mean, like, when you're just a tiny channel, you're putting out stuff that you want to talk about, and if someone doesn't like it, why are they even watching it? Like, I'm starting to believe that there's, like, what I'm going to call serial haters who just go on your video just to put a thumbs down and just leave a bad comment. Like, and I think they just get a rise from that. Like, they just think, like, haha, look what I did. And it's
it's funny you say that.
I'm gonna, every time his video comes up, I'm gonna go and thumbs down, and it's like, I don't care.
It's funny you say that.
Give me another view.
Ever since my Patreon video, I've had a group of 5 people that are now instantly, and they'll die off. I know they will. They won't. They don't have the energy. I don't know. Hate has a lot of energy, but ever since that video, every video I post, it gets 5 thumbs down within the first hour. No matter how good or bad the video is, those same 5 thumbs down are there. Never happened before. And I'm like, I know it's you guys. I know it's you. Like, you're not even watching the videos. You're just thumbs downing it. And I don't get that. Like, who lives a life of hatred? Where is their happiness there? Where do you find any kind of self-worth? Like, I'm not mad. I'm confused.
Well, this is actually, I've talked about this in another video too, or I think it was one of my live chats, where I don't understand the concept of the thumbs down. Even the thumbs up to some degree, I don't understand it. If you have a problem or if you don't like something, say it in the chat. Give feedback. Saying thumbs down doesn't mean anything. Why are you thumbs downing? Are you thumbs downing because you're an asshole? Are you thumbs downing because you don't like the topic? Are you thumbs downing because I had a hair out of place? Was the feed bad? Like, I mean, it's not good criticism.
Well,
sit there like that and just be like,
exactly. Here's the problem with the thumbs down that I have for small creators. For large creators like PewDiePie and Logan Paul or whatever, it's like, yeah, that stuff averages out after, the first person watches a video, whatever. They get millions of views. But for a small creator that gets 10 to 100 views on a video, if they're going to be getting like 1 to 2 thumbs down, that hurts, because I know from personal experience, I put a lot of work into my videos. I put 8+ hours into a 5 to 6 minute video. So when it first came out and I'd get a thumbs down or 2, I'd be like, oh, my that hurt, like my pride.
Yeah, I worked harder than that. I put my blood and sweat in that one.
I feel
and
like
it just takes this guy 2 seconds to thumbs down it, right?
Exactly. And I feel like the thumbs up and thumbs down, I think, is very useful for high quality, high publicized videos to give people an idea of the quality of the video. But for a small channel, I don't get the use of it. I don't get it. If it's only going to be like, I almost feel like YouTube would have a protocol where a video needs to get 1,000 views on it first before it can get thumbs up or thumbs down. That way, small creators don't feel bad about a quality of a video until it gets a lot of views on it, and then they know if it's good or not. Why doesn't that exist? Why? 'Cause the reason why, I'll answer my own question, is because YouTube has been shown time and time again to not give a crap about small creators. They care about the big guns. They care about the people that are bringing them the money, and they got
to please the sponsors, right? The
exactly
money, where the money is. Yeah.
And for the small creators, it's the Wild West, and they just let those small creators do their thing, whatever. It's like the kids in the playground. They don't care as long as there's no bloody noses or media covering it. Who cares? We care about the big guns on YouTube, and that's all.
And now they got their YouTube Premium, right, where they're starting to bring in, the real big guns. They got the actual production videos coming out. And actually, this has also been a thing that I've kind of talked about too, is that, a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people who are already big, famous, whatever, starting YouTube channels.
Don't get me started. We're going to talk all night tonight, Brian.
It's just crap that's just been on my mind. It's not that I care. It's just, it's interesting that, any celebrity can go on YouTube and boom, they're thousands of views, thousands of subscribers, because they have that pull, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that they're going onto a platform that wasn't designed for them. They already have their platform. They have Hollywood. Like, they can put out a DVD, they can put out CDs, they can put out whatever. And then they go on YouTube.
The day YouTube started going
Arnold Schwarzenegger has a YouTube channel.
Will Smith, Ellen DeGeneres, Jimmy Kimmel. Like, the day YouTube started highlighting Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen DeGeneres to me was the day that I saw the downfall of YouTube. Because I'm like, I don't ever care. I just don't like these guys could have the creators of Secret of Mana with full translation on their show, and I'd be like, I mean, maybe I'd watch that, but outside, I'm like, come on, like, this is just, it's not fair. Life is not fair. Get used to it, kind of situation. But I saw.
Well, it also sets a bar and a standard, right? And like the one thing I've always said about YouTubers, and the way I've always kind of defended YouTubers, is saying that, hey, we are just simple people with a webcam or whatever. Mm-hmm. Some have more expensive gear. I don't. I use an iPad, a broken one at that. Mm-hmm. And I do it very, very low key. I don't have the best lighting. I don't write scripts. I don't have anybody helping me. Half the time I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. And I'm trying to put out videos.
I'll let you in on a trade
just
secret.
Being myself.
I'll let you in on a trade secret. None of us ever know what the hell we're doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've had the comments come in. I've had people say, like, your lighting sucks, or this sucks, or whatever. I've got it. And then, your sound sucks, or your quality stinks. And I've seen those, and I look at those as, hey, thanks for helping me. That's helping me. I'm saying, okay, I need to improve.
Yeah.
And I'll never achieve the standards of, say, a celebrity who can,
well, here's the issue.
Use actual cameras and know what the hell they're doing.
Here's the issue I have with it. I don't mind so much that celebrities are doing YouTube. I think it's an open platform and everybody has the right to it. The problem I have is, I think, the same problem that the majority of people have with it, and that's YouTube favoritism towards them, which is, in a weird way, this is going to sound like jealousy, so take it for what it's worth, but training the casual viewer to expect more and to focus more on established brands instead of trying to find needles in haystacks. And I think that's the concern most YouTubers have, whether you're big or small. You're not Will Smith. You're not even Jaden Smith. You're Wood Hawker. You know, you're RGT85. You're Smash JT. You're Brian's Man Cave. You're somebody who's not a well-known person, and the problem is the casual average viewer is getting trained to not watch us, and that's the issue.
Yeah, actually, one word that always stays in my brain is YouTube famous, and I've heard this a lot because, like, even someone like Metal Jesus Rocks, if you remember when he did that video about that, what the heck was that?
Winnebago?
The N64 thing, that disk drive thing, and all of a sudden he exploded, and people are like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And it's like, no matter how big he is, there's always going to be a ton of people who have no idea who he is. Even the Angry Video Game Nerd. I've talked to people I know.
That blows my mind. You know, that blows my mind.
Angry Video Game Nerd or whatever, and they're like, "Who?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." I think about it. I'm like, I didn't know who the Angry Video Game Nerd was until like literally probably 3 years ago. I never heard of him. His feed stumbled upon my I think I was just on YouTube, and one of them just popped in. Maybe I was doing a search on a video game or something out of the blue, and it popped in there, and I started watching it. I was laughing my ass off, and I went to my buddy, and I'm like, "Oh, have you ever heard of this guy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, he's famous. He's big." I'm like, "Oh, but that's YouTube famous, right? You're famous in YouTube, but when you go outside of YouTube, people are like, "Who the hell are you?" But like you were saying with Will Smith, he's not YouTube famous. He's famous. That's it, right? So some people are famous, but well, I mean, there's a difference.
Here's the thing. I take myself out of being a YouTuber because I feel like I'm a good example for this. Before I started my YouTube channel, I didn't give two craps about YouTube. I didn't know anybody on YouTube. I knew about the Angry Video Game Nerd from Screw Attack. Like, I used to watch him on screwattack.com, not YouTube. I knew nothing about YouTube. And as time's gone on, I've learned about popular celebrities on YouTube. I've watched PewDiePie. I've enjoyed his content. But I look at me 2.5, 3 years ago, and I might have heard the name PewDiePie, but if you asked me who he was or what he looked like, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And that was me 3 years ago. This is someone on YouTube with over 5,000 subscribers that 3 years ago didn't even know who PewDiePie was.
I didn't know him either. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that right there should tell you that no matter
even
how
that what's his name? The Paul guy. I even forgot his name.
Logan Paul?
Logan Paul. That's it. I never heard of him until that whole issue with the
suicide
body.
I didn't exactly. Same here.
And I'm like, ooh.
I didn't know about him either.
And that's when I realized there's such a thing as YouTube famous. And so, like, you can get into this, and you can think you're a big, guy, but you're big in YouTube world, and that's it. I mean, you're not going to be necessarily going outside and having people running up to you going, "Can I have your autograph?" Right? It's not going to happen.
No, I've honestly
you can go to a gaming convention and maybe, or whatever you're into that field. I mean, YouTube's not just gaming, but I mean, if I'm sure when the Angry Video Game Nerd goes to who he is, right? Because he's amongst his people. Yep. And so so I've always kind of understood that's the way YouTube works, right? And it's not going to be even with me when I was the last gaming convention I went to, and we don't have a lot where I live, and I was talking to one of the guys there that was running it, and I was having a little chat with him, and I said, "Oh yeah, I have a channel," and I had my business cards ready, and I'm like, "Here you go," and he looked at it, he's like, "Oh, hey. I recognize you." I'm like, really?
Really? And, that's how I recognize you?
Yeah, but it wasn't for the good thing, though. Like, he remembered me doing a rant about Nintendo with their copyright thing, you know, when you stream a Nintendo game.
Yeah.
And they ding you with the copyright, and I never knew anything about it, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I started, I went crazy on social network, and so I put it on Facebook and everything. And that was one of those things where I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I should have stopped and thought about it.
If you didn't do it, he would have never known you, though.
Yeah, well, that, so it's like at that point, I'm like, oh, here's where people can know you from for different reasons, right? Like that's what he remembered me by. He's like, oh yeah, you're the guy that
Unfortunately,
complained.
unfortunately, the way YouTube's trending is infamy is more important than famous. So if you're known for all the wrong reasons, that's just as important, if not more so, than being known for the right reasons. And
Yeah, yeah.
Logan Paul, PewDiePie, exhibit A and B of that, where it's like, how many people learned about PewDiePie when he said the N-word on a stream? Like it's
Oh
almost like
yeah,
that was manufactured by his group of people just to get his name out there. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Like there's so many situations I could point to where it's like, if you F up, but you still keep doing your thing, then you're fine. But for some reason, that's not, it's an exception to the rule. It's not a rule because there are plenty of channels out there that have effed up and then just disappear. So that's kind of strange how that whole dichotomy works. And there's no way to understand the scientific method behind that because that's a human thing. That's not a robotic thing. That's just
especially something like that with PewDiePie and the whole racism thing.
Mhm.
I mean, just going on what happened with Roseanne Barr, made one racist comment and her whole career just went down to shithole.
Yep, exactly. That's a great example. Great example.
She's not YouTube famous. She's famous. Like she's not, So
although I will say with the Roseanne Barr thing, after her tweet came out, there was a lot more that came out after that kind of showed that that's who she was and it wasn't just an accident. And I think that's where the line
could have been. Yeah, they could have like buried it even further.
Mm-hmm. I think
but those are things that are hard to come back by.
I watched even
go
ahead.
Even from Seinfeld. I don't know if you remember when that incident happened. He was doing a stand-up routine.
Oh yeah.
Many years after Seinfeld ended, and he used the N-word, and
but it wasn't just using the N-word. It's how he recovered the situation, or should I say, the lack of recovery, where he was standing by it, and he was like, you guys are all wrong. You guys are. I'm like, clearly he's either on drugs or drunk right now. Like he is not on the right state of mind. The way he's talking to the crowd, this is weird. So I would argue with Optimus Ponder, not all publicity is good publicity. Just all publicity, even if it's negative or positive, as long as you're still painted as the good guy in the end, which is what Logan Paul is trying to recover with his documentary right now.
Yeah, well, I think it's right, and it's at the same time that you gotta be careful. You gotta play your cards right. By saying all publicity is good publicity, but do you really want to be known in that light? And that's one of the things
that's a dark place.
It's one of the things that I kind of decided when I started my channel was, first of all, do I want to say anything? Do
you want to ruffle feathers, or do you want to do your thing?
Yeah. Do I want to say things that are not necessarily going to make? Do I want to add politics, religion? Do I want to swear? All these things I had to think about because once you start it, you can't stop it. I mean, so it's part of building up your brand. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to keep politics out of it. I'm not going to talk about that stuff. I'm not going to talk about religion. I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to swear. I keep my videos very clean, and it was just a decision. I mean, that's just the way I am. It's not that I don't swear. I mean, it's not. I'm not a saint. It's just that I thought this is a public face. I want whoever watches my video, they're going to know that it's safe. So I'm not going to say anything wrong. I'm not going to say anything rude. I'm not going to, call anybody out. I'm not going to be a jerk. And, so it's just something I decided to do. Right. And sure, that could in the end, because that was one of the things I noticed, like watching someone like the video game nerd. He swears a lot. I mean, he says a lot of things. And I actually remember, I think it was one of his videos where he was just himself, like James Rolfe came out, and he was talking about how he has a daughter, his wife, and it's kind of challenging for him to film the videos because he doesn't want to be swearing with his daughter upstairs, things like that. And I just thought, you just gotta. But as far as like coming up, topics and stuff that's out in the news, and I just decided I'm going to stay out of it. It's just to try and get views. I don't think it's worth it for me, even if I'm sure we all consider it, but I don't want to be like, jumping onto the views bandwagon all the time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it just becomes redundant, it's repetitive and stuff.
Well, the problem I've seen is just people hate on the unknown. People are afraid of the unknown. No matter how good your quality is, no matter how entertaining you are, no matter how good of an angle you take, if they're not familiar with you and your brand, the initial human reaction is to be afraid and to be scared of it, because this is something new. This is, oh my God, what is this? I don't know this person. What are they doing? And it's a subconscious thing that everyone goes through. So I've noticed it more as my channel has grown to receive more hate from people that just don't know who I am. And a lot of these people, I'm confident if I keep doing this and stick around long enough, will eventually come around to subscribing to me, no matter how much they're hating on me right now. And I think that's just a normal way it goes with human mentality.
Yeah. Well, I think too is, the one thing that makes that really separates us, like the average YouTuber from, say, watching TV or watching celebrities, is that they relate more to us. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's what the most amount of, good things that people have said about me is how they say that I'm true. They relate to what I'm saying, and they can kind of see my personality. They can see that I'm the real deal. I'm not just up here making up stuff just to get videos out there, which, some people do, and they become successful doing it, but it's just not me, right? And I don't think that's you either. You're I'm going to do what I do.
What differentiates you from PewDiePie? What's the difference?
I have to be honest. I don't think I've watched a lot of PewDiePie stuff.
Okay, well,
I didn't understand his videos.
Not that question then. The biggest YouTuber and that you watch, what's the difference?
Actually, I don't see any difference, and that's the thing. Like, I watch RGT85 a lot. I watch Metal Jesus. I watch No Swear Gamer. He's bigger than me. I watch all of these people, and I see there's some differences, but the only thing I could really see is that I have my own opinions. That's it, right? I understand that a lot of videos I do have already been done, so I'm not going to say I can't do a video on that because it's already been done, because pretty much every video game has already been talked about. So I put my own spin on it. I do a lot of the games, like old Atari games that have been done to death, right? But whatever.
To that point, that brings up an interesting topic as far as the retro video games and why they're not getting the views. Do you feel like that's part of the reason why retro videos aren't popular? Is because it's kind of like if you've seen the Truman Show, when he's like, when I grow up, I want to be an explorer. And the teacher's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're too late. Everything's already been discovered. It's like, that's kind of what YouTube is, where it's like,
yeah,
you can't talk about stuff that's already out there because it's already been discovered. It's already been talked about. Give me something new. And I think that's why YouTube is trended towards news, topics, current events, everything that's happening in the video game world. That's why I'm ecstatic about the Atari VCS, because that's retro, that's modern, that's news,
it's new retro.
That's everything. It's new retro. I love new retro because that fits everything that I want to talk about. Even if I think it's going to be a complete failure, even if I think it's a complete joke, it still falls into the category of it's retro, but yet it's still modern. That's entertaining to a lot of people right now.
Well, actually, the way I looked at it was like what really stopped me from thinking that way is that I've seen a lot, like obviously because I'm searching this stuff out on YouTube all the time, and you know, I always get the feeds in of other YouTubers, and some of the videos are like 5 to 10 years old,
Mhm.
and I see other YouTubers who have done the same topics as mine, and they have thousands, hundreds of thousands of views. So people do like watching that stuff. So there's no reason why are not going to like it today. And you know, people that go into the search engine and they want to, you know, I'm trying to remember what the game was, but it was one of the recent videos I did, and this person I'd never seen comment on my video. He said, "Oh, I just felt like, you know, I was thinking about this old Atari game that I used to play, and I searched it on Google or on YouTube, and I found your video and I watched it and I really liked it. Now I want to pull out my Atari." You know, I think about that and it's like, well, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm bringing back the retro to the people who are going to stumble upon it.
But the
people
problem
who
is the problem with YouTube's algorithm is they don't just outright present that information to viewers. YouTube naturally trends towards trending topics that are new, and I feel like one of my favorite videos of all time is the Angry Video Game Nerd and Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. If you were to do a video on Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, and if you were to do it a million times better, like infinitely better, like the best video ever made on YouTube about Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, it
Hollywood
will not,
production.
exactly. Like if it was like a movie quality, like freaking J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg got together and made this Plumbers Don't Wear Ties video, well, without their names behind it, because that would get attention. But if you were just to make, if you're a nobody and you were to make the best video ever about that game, it would not do well. It would not succeed. It doesn't, and that's the problem. Nobody's going to be typing in Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, Smash JT, enter. Like it's not, that doesn't happen. And there's no way YouTube's going to promote it. There's no way it's going to be recommended. It's just not going to work. Like my video I did on, oh God, what was it called? Rapist Beware, which was a video on the 80s. Have you seen the video or not? Probably not. Rapist Beware is me stepping out of my comfort zone, talking about a self-defense karate course to defend yourself as a woman being raped in the 80s. And it's effing hysterical. It got like 330 views. But it's, in my mind, maybe I'm a little bit biased with my quality, but in my mind, on par with anything that JonTron would do. Has 330 views. And people have watched it and they've told me, oh my God, that's great. That's amazing. That's JonTron quality. 330 views. And then I make a video on the Switch has cracks on it. 5,000 views instantly.
Actually, yeah, that happened to me too. I was putting out like videos where I was actually spending the time coming up with a concept, doing the recordings, doing the editing, all that work, and then, you know, a small piece of news came out, and I just came home from work and I just put the camera on, I spit it out my brain, like not even 5 minutes, no editing required. I literally threw it in there, just chopped the beginning piece and chopped the end piece just to make it smooth, threw it up there, and it got hundreds of views compared to the ones around it that I spent the most time on, thinking that now, of course, you're hitting a lot of the people that are, you know, and the other thing too is that if other YouTubers are talking about it, more likely yours is going to appear into people's suggestions, right? So if Metal Jesus is talking about a subject and RGT85 is talking about a subject and you're talking about a subject, chances are you might appear somewhere in, you know, the top 10 to 20 if you're on the same subject. Yeah. So I can understand that's going to happen, right? Like, whereas my other video on, you know, whatever, like Frogger, you know, no, like you said, nobody's going into their keyboard and going Frogger because it's an old game.
Man Cave, Frogger. Because if you just type in Frogger, you're not going to be in the first 5,000 pages of that.
Yeah, even like I was just thinking of that today because I was watching the No Swear Gamer did a video and I remember doing Frogger And it's like it gets a small amount of hits, but it's not going to get the, you're not going to be pulling in the tons because it's just not trending. But when you throw in those keywords, like the Intellivision one, when I did the Intellivision thing with Tommy Tallarico, so far, I mean that's over 500 views right now. Out of all my lots, the highest one before that was maybe 200, and that was with Hancock. But most of them were just like 40 to 100. So I think because the Intellivision was trending, and people were looking up Tommy Tallarico, they were looking up Intellivision, and yeah, it's going to slot into that views area. But then anything else is.
Don't you think that's part of the problem? Is the direction that YouTube's headed with this whole suggested videos situation, where it forces you to create videos that are somewhat similar on topic so that you get recognized?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I remember it was a while ago. Actually, I don't often do this. Like there's on YouTube, there's a trending button, right? And you click on that, and you just get this random smattering of videos that are, and it's anything from like people doing stupid things to Jimmy Fallon to it could be anything, right? It's whatever's trending, right? Yeah. And I remember clicking on this one video, and it was just like, what was it? It was a Hatchimal thing, and it was just like someone just put their Hatchimal toy. I think this was probably just around the time just before Christmas when they were big. And they just put their Hatchimal toy there, and then they just put the camera on it, and it was just hatching, and it was like 1 million views. God. And I'm like, WTF? Like, I spent a lot of time making videos and like putting a lot of work into my videos, and someone just throws up a crappy cell phone video
that reminds me
of a toy.
Well, that reminds me of what happened the other day with me, where I had on my sub feed, it had a video called I Went to the Zoo, and it's like a blurry picture of a dude holding food up to a giraffe, and it had like 18 million views. And it was like 18 or 20 seconds long or whatever. And I clicked on it, and it was a dude is like, he's not even speaking English. He's like, and he's like holding up food and feeding the animal. And that was the end of it. And I'm like, what?
Why?
18 million views. Yeah. And I read the comments, and people were losing their shit. They were cracking up at how this video keeps getting views. And they're like, this is hysterical. It keeps getting views. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's just viral though. I mean, in my opinion, viral's cool, but I would never want to. I mean, I don't want to focus on trying to become viral, because in most cases, like, do you remember that lady who put on that Chewbacca mask and was laughing?
I absolutely do.
And she went viral, and billions of people. Nobody's watching her anymore, right? Like, I'm sure if she has videos, nobody's watching them.
Well, here's the thing with her.
And
if she was smart, she would have built an empire off of that, and she kind of just died.
Yeah.
One hit
but
wonder.
That's hard to do. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, exactly. One hit wonder. It's hard to do. Like, people are going to her because they like her content.
You give me a Chewbacca mask moment, and I will freaking run with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh sure, but we're already in this game, right?
Yeah,
we're already making the videos. But even I'm sure with Metal Jesus, when he made that one video that just made him just hit, I think what happened was it spiked, and it probably went back down to his normal viewers, right? Yep. And this is where we have to take pride in the people who watch us on a constant basis, like Mr. Toon in the chat there, and Optimus Ponder, and like there's a lot of RC in the and NYC. There's a lot of names in there I'm seeing. Green Lantern HD that they're the fans. They're the people that watch us. We do it for them. Whether we get like 1,000 people out of nowhere because of some random viral video, I don't see that really is going to. It's just the same as trying to get a shout out. I mean, you can get, and this is what I talked to John Hancock about. One of the questions I threw at him was, what was his thought on the fact that Metal Jesus, or people tell make comments that he's only where he is because of Metal Jesus.
Well, that's
and
true.
he's just
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
and he was just like,
true.
that's freaking stupid.
No, that's
And
100%
he
true.
said
he needs to admit that. See, here's the thing. John Hancock's a great guy, but you gotta call a spade a spade. Like, if you got a 600,000 sub channel with you constantly on it, you're not getting to 60,000 subs without that. Like, that's just, I feel like if I was a regular on Metal Jesus Rocks and I got to 60,000 subs, I wouldn't be delusional about it. I wouldn't be like, yeah, man, I did this on my own and that just happened to be a part of it. Like, no. Give me a break. There's a lot of really good YouTubers out there that don't get the recognition.
In all fairness, though, I think what he was meaning was, yes, Metal Jesus helped significantly, but he wasn't the only reason. Now, and I'm sure if Metal Jesus went out and did a video and mentioned my name, I don't think I would be like all of a sudden from 700 subs to like 3,000 subs, right?
I
don't think it works. I think
it might.
Well, maybe. I mean,
I find that actually technically that is exactly how it works. That's the problem.
I find that you got to be more organic, right? Like you develop subscribers as they like your content, right? Like even when I did say, well, for instance, I did my video with John Hancock. I got a couple. I didn't jump up like by, and I was just going to say this. One of the people in the chat, Christopher Pico, if I'm saying his name right, he just asked that question.
Just call him the old ass retro gamer.
The old ass gamer, yeah. He just threw a question up there going, how the hell did I score a rad guest like Tommy T? And I thought at the time when, first of all, I didn't think it would happen when I did score him on my show. But I thought, it severely boost up my subscriber count. Am I going to get like 1,000, because he's going to have the reach. But that wasn't necessarily so. I mean, getting Tommy.
I think it's. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying, he even put the chat out on the Intellivision website, and to answer his question, I watched the first Facebook chat he did, and I was putting comments out there, and I guess he watched my video. He saw my video that I did before, and he actually, and Paul was also beside him, who I've kind of been in contact with, who's also helping with the Intellivision. He also brought it up too. He brought my name up in the video. He said Brian's Man Cave, and then Tommy was like, "Oh yeah, Brian's Man Cave," and I just like almost hit the floor. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like they just mentioned my group, and I got like a few. I didn't jump, like I didn't spike completely. I got a few more subscribers from that, but it wasn't like boom. I'm now big. And then some people were like, you should do a chat with him. And I'm like, why would he talk to me? I have at the time I had less than 700 subs. Like, why would he care about me when he can go to the big guys, right?
Yeah.
And so I just threw a question out there. He ended up friending me on Facebook, which was crazy. And I was like, hey, would you like to do a live chat? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So that's how that worked. I mean, it was just incredible. But I just find that, I've talked to a bunch of people now and done things. My first live chat was with Sonye, who's like an award-winning pop singer, and that didn't really, So I kind of see where John was coming from. Like he also had to put on a good show. He also has to have a brand. He also has to.
Well, right there is what you're saying. Is what I was going to say. Like he wouldn't be at 60,000 without Metal Jesus, but he also would not still be there if he didn't have quality content. So that's where the difference is. Like he's got good content. He's got a legit story. He's a hell of a collector. He's got all these collections. He knows so much about the history of Sega Genesis, especially. He's got so much to talk about. Very interesting guy. That really helps his channel stay where it's at. But I think part of why his video initially of the channels, too many channels on YouTube, I sensed a bit of frustration in his growth from his take on that. I feel like he felt like he should be growing faster than he is, and he was blaming too many channels instead of looking internally and saying, how can I improve my content? And this goes back to something I said a long time ago to someone else. I don't remember who it was, but if you skip the steps, if you skip the natural growth of YouTube, which is arduous, it's painful, it's a grind, it will put you through the ringer, it will make you want to quit 30,000 times if you survive all of that and you get to the point of 60,000 subs, you won't make a video like he did there, because you know how hard it is and you know how you have to make the videos to continue on that path. And I feel like skipping steps you'll have those kind of hiccups like he did there, where it kind of shows that he skipped a step. I'm not saying he's bad. That has nothing to do with that. I'm just saying
No.
a few steps. That's all I was saying.
Actually, well, John, he's he's really just trying to do the best he can in most cases. Like, he's a collector. I mean, that's what he says. He's a collector first. He's got the passion. Obviously, he is. If you've seen collection, you can see that he's really. I mean, that's where his love is, right? And his videos are more simpler than mine. I mean, he literally just puts the camera in front of his face and just have at it, right? And at the end, he just pushes the button, and that's his video, right? He doesn't go into all of those fancy details and stuff, but that's fine, because that's not why people watch him. They don't watch him for his video quality. They watch him because they want to hear what he has to say about video games, because he knows what the hell he's talking about. And that's why I was saying, like, you know, even with he would still be a fairly big YouTuber, and I'm sure he would grow. Sure, he wouldn't maybe not have gotten to the 60. I admit, yes, that would have helped him severely. I mean, if you, and I'm sure if I ended up on his show, I mean, he was on my show, and I have a small audience, so it's not going to be the same effect than if I ended up on his show, and his audience got to see me, right?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you from personal experience on that. I did an interview on his channel, and I got like maybe 35 subs from it. It's like nothing, maybe 45 subs, like max. Like, great, that's awesome, but in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing, and it's not a consistent. It doesn't show anything about me. It just advertises my brand to people, and I think that's something you need to realize when you're on the Metal Jesus Rocks show. And I know of someone who will be on the Metal Jesus Rocks show that I'm not at liberty to say right now, that will receive a gigantic boost in subs when it happens. And you'll see what I'm talking about when it happens. They'll prove my point. It'll exactly prove my point. Except the person I'm talking about is deserving of it far more than anyone else. They a very high quality channel that will be appearing on Metal Jesus Rocks. But I swore. But I swore not to say who it was, so I'm sorry for the. I'm sorry for the teaser there, but once it happens, you'll know what I'm talking about, and you'll look at his Social Blade, and you'll be like, "Holy crap! Wow, that's amazing."
Well, I have to admit that it was Metal Jesus where I got to know who John Hancock was.
Oh, it's Metal Jesus where I got to know John Hancock, John Riggs, Reggie, Kelsey. All exactly. Of them. Like it's all Metal Jesus for all that. And
yeah, I was just in a conversation with John Riggs a few times now, because he's also wants to do a live chat with me. So
nice.
It's just going to be getting him when he's when he's free. I mean, that's his thing. Like he can't really commit to too far in advance. Well, so he's like, just hit me up, and
he's just like me. He's got the whole family thing going on, so it's kind of tough to get the time.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I try to be accommodating. I mean, one of the people I did before I actually started doing my own live chats was Sin Spacies, and he's from Australia.
I know him.
And so he asked me to be on his show, and because it's like 14-hour time difference, I ended up having to do it at midnight, which was crazy. I mean, I was like,
That's wild.
yeah. For me to be up that late, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like rubbing my eyes. I'm like, oh, gee.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I try to accommodate. I mean, I know with us when we were working on a time, and you were like, you know, originally going to say 10 o'clock, and I'm like,
That's pretty
I
late.
can do it, but
well, that's the problem
I
with
gotta
being
get
West
up in the
Coast.
morning.
Yeah, that's the problem with being West
I
Coast.
gotta get
right?
up in
It's
the morning.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's even
just
harder
tough.
for me.
I think it's tough.
It's even harder for me because I want to get my videos out by 8 or 9 a.m. So that way they're out by at least noon or 1 at East Coast time. And that's hard because that means you got to get up at like 5 or 4 a.m. sometimes to work on a video and edit it. And sometimes I don't get them out until 11 or 12. It's hard.
Yeah, and for me, like I've been thinking about, you know, do I want to commit myself to a specific time or when my video? I'm already committed to a specific date, so I'm like, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm releasing my videos, but I don't really have a specific time. Yeah. Because sometimes I get home at 5:30, do a little bit of finishing touch, then I need to do the uploading, then I need to do the so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna leave it, and you know, it'll be sometime on Tuesday.
Exactly.
So people usually know it's gonna be Tuesday at least. It's not gonna be Tuesday at 7 every day. It's gonna be Tuesday,
right?
And maybe one day, even my live plays, like I don't have a schedule, and I do those for fun. Only because I've had fans of my show going, can you do some live play?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I wasn't planning on it, but I'll figure it out. And so I really only do it because there's people who watch me and they want to see me play video games. So,
exactly.
And I'm not going to commit myself to a schedule that's too stressful for me. I don't want to be like, yeah, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be playing a video game. No, I don't want to do that right now. I can't.
Too hard. It's too hard.
My life is so busy. Yeah. It's 10:45 in my time. I know you're 3 hours behind me?
Yeah, my wife is in the hot tub with the kids, and she's been out there the whole time. So I don't know how much longer she's gonna last out there.
Yeah, I think my daughter just went to bed. So yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up. But this has been a lot of fun. I mean, I know what you were saying about we could probably go on all night talking about this stuff.
I really could.
And yeah, it'd be cool. I know I've mentioned this before about doing like a collab video, maybe with a bunch of other YouTubers all at the same time. So maybe we could do another video and have a couple other people in here at the same time. That might be kind of fun. Be a little bit
for sure.
But I want to thank you for coming out, and thank you for being on my show. This has been a lot of fun. It was great to get to know another YouTuber such as yourself, and see that we have a lot of the same kind of ideas, and it's a lot of things in common.
Dude, it's great doing a collab. Man. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. I had a blast the whole time. I mean, a hell of a conversation. Just based off
it's fun.
Just based off the chat alone, I know people were enjoying it, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I want to thank everybody that took the time to come into the chat. I mean, this is why I try to get the word out there as soon as I can. Once I get it concreted that we're going to do this, and I try and get it out there to get enough people interested to come into the chat, because that's what makes this thing all worth it. I mean, doing the chat is, we could have just easily done this offline and edit it and spend the time on it, but no, this is where it comes down to. Being able to talk to people live and answer their questions, and good or bad, and thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever.
Exactly.
Take that risk. But that's what I live for, anyway. So I just want to thank you for coming out, and thank everybody in the chat. And feel free, anybody that's been watching this or who's watching this at a later date, to throw some questions down in the chat box, or it's not the chat box, but the comment box, and let's keep this going, and I hope, and thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, dude, and thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, like I said, so let me know if you ever need anything. I'm here for you, and I appreciate you, man. This was
awesome,
dude. A blast.
Cool. Anyways, thanks, everybody, and I'm going to be cutting the broadcast now.